Brooke Plack, your host here today on the Grit Crusade podcast. And I'm so excited to be here with one of my dear friends and colleagues, Bekka Wilkerson.
Hey,
Yay!
thank you so much for having
Yay!
me.
Bekka is with the Impact One Foundation and comes to us with a career of nonprofit experience. And
Yes.
so Bekka is an amazing human. She's a sweet soul. And so I'm excited today for you guys to get to learn about her journey. So tell us a little bit about you, Bekka.
Oh gosh, I don't even know where to start.
Right?
So let's start where we are right now.
Yeah, I like that.
So, executive director of the
Whoop.
amazing Impact One
Whoop,
Foundation.
whoop. Yeah.
We're not at all biased for the fantastic things that we do.
So for the people that are tuning in that may not know all of my story, so I am a co-founder with Lisa Weeks of the Impact One Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization that Bekka, I'm sure, is going to tell us about in a little bit. And Bekka is our executive director, so she's really the hands and feet of the mission. So kind of a little plug in there of how we got there. So yeah.
And happy to be the hands and feet.
Yes.
I am also wife to one, bonus mom to three, and grandmother, if anybody can believe that,
right?
to one precious child. My husband, Speedy, and I have been married for 11 years this year.
Yeah.
My kids are all in their 20s, and my grandson will be 5 this year. So
Oliver,
he keeps us
he's the
going.
apple of your eye.
Oliver is the best.
I love it.
Like all of the crazy things I went through with my kids are totally worth it to get to this one.
Yeah.
Because he tests me and he lifts me up all at the same time. It's great.
I love it. I love it. So you're working in nonprofit now.
Yes.
For people that come from the corporate world or from even small business, like I know when Lisa and I first, founded Impact, we were like, wait a second, people are going to give us money without doing anything, right? Which we are doing things, but you know what I mean? Like we're not delivering a product or a service. Like people are giving us money because they support the mission and the work that we're doing. So your career has been in nonprofit or
It
like
has
this.
been.
And so why do you work in nonprofit?
So I lived in the for-profit world for a while.
You were at UAMS, right?
I was at UAMS and I did billing and collections for a psychiatric company before that. And I always say, I'm not a mather. Math is a 4-letter word
to me. A mather? Is
a
that a
mather.
word? Is that a word?
It is in my world. You can put ER on anything and make it a word, right?
Yeah.
So I did billing and collections, and I always say, if I ever go to eternal punishment, that's what's going to be there waiting for me.
That's your hell.
Hell is waiting for me if I'm bad, and it's going to be billing and collections.
Mine is the beer fridge at Riverside Grocery and Catering. So if I ever have to walk in that beer fridge, it is so freaking cold.
It is so cold
and
in there.
My whole body, I'm like, this is hell. This is literally hell. Like hell might be on fire, but my little cell would
it's
be
not a hot place
the
for
beer
you.
cave. Yeah, exactly.
That's fantastic.
That'd be it. Yep.
And mine's full of math.
Okay.
But I did
mather.
But I did. When I left there, I went and worked at UAMS and I did cancer research clinical trials, which was an amazing job. I loved it. It was a hard job because
is that publicly funded or privately funded?
It is publicly funded.
Okay.
We did drug trials. So I had very sick patients, and we gave them quality of life. So I think that's kind of how my journey started. Like if you'd asked 16-year-old Bekka where we were going to be at 41, she would have said, in the middle of a third world country in the jungles with Doctors Without Borders and very altruistic, which I'm so glad that was not my path.
So but you've always seems like then you've always had that altruistic kind of passion though.
Yes. I've always been one to fight for the underdog or to want to help people. Like even if it was to personal detriment, like if it brought me to exhaustion, to add on one more thing, if it was going to be beneficial to somebody else, like that was always something that's moved me.
Yeah.
So nonprofit was a natural jump. I fell in love with the disability community while I was at UAMS, just by happenstance. Again, not something that has directly impacted my life, but something that came to me when I needed that extra little push, and that drug me into nonprofit.
Yeah.
And I was really grateful for that job. I was with Civitan for 7 years.
7 years, yeah.
And it was great. We did amazing things there.
I have a fun fact.
Fun fact.
I founded the Junior Civitan chapter at Bryant High School. Yes, it was
Really?
while I was in high school. We
That
didn't
is
have.
a fun
I know. I was
fact.
working with Renee Calhoun or Renee Pruitt and Paula
Uh-huh.
Calhoun. They were on staff at Bryant at the time and working with the Special Olympics teams. And we
Yes.
started the Junior Civitan chapter at
That's
Bryant
so
High School. I
fun.
know.
I
Yeah.
love
And
that.
then at that point, I didn't know, obviously, like all the work Civitan did. All I saw was like the kids I went to school with and how
Right.
it impacted them. But yeah, that was so true to my heart when I was younger. So yeah,
It all
yeah.
comes back around, doesn't
Doesn't
it? Like,
it?
we're
Doesn't
all
it? So you
connected
were
in
there
this cool way.
7
I was
years?
there 7
Okay. Yep.
years. We did some really amazing things, and obviously, as you know, that's still a cause that's near and dear to my heart. I
Yeah.
love the disability community, and I still, like, throw my hat into the ring and
Right.
help there wherever I can. But my first love is what got me where we are now. Sports were my first love, and I am very open about the fact that sports changed my life.
What sports did you play?
Well, at the time it was, oh my gosh, I graduated in 2000. We
Okay.
were close together, I
Yeah,
think,
I'm
weren't we? I
2003.
thought you were.
Apparently this week, like one of my high school like classmates posted on Facebook that they were like, "Today, 20 years ago, we graduated high school." And I was like,
Like,
"Why did you what?
stop. Why
What?
did you
What
set out to hurt
happened?"
my feelings
Yeah. I'm like,
today?
"Wow." Like and on like one hand, I'm like, "Okay." The other hand, I'm like, "Damn," like it's the same. So
Well,
so
I tell Speedy all the time, like, I graduated 10 years ago, and he's like, "No.
no, you didn't. No,
No,
you
not
didn't.
even from college. You didn't even graduate from college 10
Me
years
either.
ago." I'm like,
Me either.
and now we're getting divorce attorneys. That's
Yeah,
what's gonna
yeah,
happen if you
there it
keep
is.
saying
Say
that out
that.
loud.
Yeah, yeah. Just let me think I'm still 25.
Right?
Yes.
Um,
So you graduated high school and
Graduated high school,
sports.
and at the time, like, I know that people like, it's evolved so much that kids are really focusing and specializing and going into singular sports. But at that time, it was like, if you were good at a sport, if you were athletic, like, you could play all the sports.
Yeah.
So, I dabbled in volleyball for a little while. It
Uh-huh.
was not my thing.
Uh-huh.
I played basketball and softball, and Carla Crowder was my high school basketball
Oh, I
coach.
know her.
I love her.
So
She's the
I like
best.
I was a cheerleader, so I was on the
Right?
sidelines of her teams. And then when I was a public school teacher in Cabot, she was the coach
Oh,
there.
that's
So I got to
right.
work with her as a colleague and was an athlete
And
under
was an
her like leadership, even though
She's
she wasn't my coach.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, I can't say enough
Right?
great things about her.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if she's a podcast listener, but we still, after all of these years, we still communicate at least a couple of times a year and be like, "Hey, gave you a shout out today because
Yeah,
I
you can
still
share the
love you."
podcast with her.
Yes,
Yeah,
like, I
she'll like that.
still love you, boo.
Her reputation precedes her for
Yes,
sure.
she's the best.
Yeah.
We butted heads
That's the best
in the
and the best
best
yeah.
kind of way.
That's how the best
Mhm.
coaches you do, like, because you both care so much.
Yes,
Yeah.
because she had that expectation and she put it on me.
Yeah.
But the one questionable thing that she did that I still look back and I'm like, we should have talked about this some more. She wanted me to run track. Um,
I feel like anybody trying to get me to run track is the same way if they saw me run those 200s this morning down the
I
stop
mean,
sign and back.
she might as well have asked me to go try out for
For cheerleading?
cheerleading because, like, it's the same thing. But so for a brief shining moment at Bryant High School, I ran hurdles.
Okay.
So let's preface that by reminding that I played basketball. So I would run and stop and jump over a hurdle like I was going for a rebound.
Instead of like having
So,
like
right,
the fluid
there was
motion.
no
of-
stride.
yeah.
There was just go, stop,
Yes.
jump. Like,
I got invited to
it
track.
didn't
So I got
last.
invited to track practice in high school. They were needing some pole vaulters that were, and so they came
Right.
got the cheerleaders. And so they were needing some people to run for state. And so they brought like a group of us down. And now that I say this, like, I'm like, how did I not realize that this at the time? But anyway, so we were like practicing pole vaulting and I wasn't very good, but I kept trying. And then they like let us like have a few of us practice hurdles and stuff. And then all of a sudden, like I realized that the state tournament was like over and nobody ever asked me to go. And so it wasn't until I was an adult. I was like, wait
Oh.
a second. I went to all those practices, but
And then got
no
ghosted.
one ever even told me that the tournament was happening or the date or anything. So clearly I was too also not supposed to run track. Yeah. Yeah.
I did throw shot and disc, and I
Oh,
was
I
pretty
bet you were
good.
good
Like,
at that.
I lettered in those things.
Yeah.
Just because, but it was another one of those, like, they wanted us to stay active and they always wanted us to be involved in a sport and doing something so
Yeah.
that we didn't have that extra time to get in trouble,
Yep.
which was probably a good thing
Yeah,
because left
absolutely.
with too much time, like, I'm a wanderer. So I could have wandered off into
Yep.
something and been like, oh, I didn't intend to do this.
Yeah.
But when I started playing basketball in the 3rd grade, and I was super tall. Like, I'm 6 foot tall, which now, since we're in these advanced years, 6 foot tall for a female is not that big a deal. But when I was in the 3rd grade
25
and
years, 30 years
right?
ago, 30 years ago ish. Yeah,
Stop.
I don't know.
When I was in the 3rd grade and I was towering over all these kids, my friend's dad was like, "Hey, she's tall. Let's teach her how to play basketball."
Yeah.
And who knew like what a huge difference that
And
was
so
gonna make in
you
my
went on to
life.
college to play
I
basketball?
did. I played basketball at UCA on a full scholarship.
University of Central Arkansas,
Uh-huh, I
Bears.
did. Sugar Bears. Go Sugar
Sugar
Bears.
Bears, okay.
But so there's a fun fact. The only sports team on campus that is the Sugar Bears is the basketball team. Everybody else is Bears.
Why?
I used to
Is
know
it
that history.
men's and women's, or just the women's is the
Just
Sugar
women's
Bears?
basketball
I
is
feel
the
like
Sugar
somebody got
Bears.
sweet on somebody.
It's got a lot of history.
I'm gonna
and
look this up.
We scheduled a sit-in. Like the athletic director, when I was a
sit-in.
sophomore or a junior, tried to take Sugar Bears away off of our uniforms.
And you sat in.
And we had a sit-in
so
on
your
the gym
uniform
floor.
is like above the number sugar.
It's just Sugar Bears all the way across the top.
Sugar Bears all the way
Yep,
across
all
the
the
top.
way
Okay.
across the top.
And then a big bear on it or something? Or
Just our number.
just
Look,
on
we
the
weren't
front
that
and
fancy,
back?
front
Oh,
and
yeah.
back.
Is that right? How basketball works? I'm trying to think.
It may not be like that now, but that's how it was when I was
Yeah.
playing.
Purple
But
and white.
yeah,
And gray, I think.
we
Yeah.
had a sit-in.
And it
Like,
worked?
It did. They didn't take our name from us. And as far and like, unless something's changed in the last
Yeah.
year or so, they're still the only
Yeah.
Sugar Bears on campus.
No doubt.
Like I'm holding tight to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I
I'm
like
gonna be
it.
the only Sugar Bear. Like there's no other team.
That's Sugar
It's a
Bears.
Sugar Bear.
Yeah.
It's just us.
I love that.
But we were fantastic. We were Division II at that time. They're Division I now. But we went to the NCAA tournament.
That's fun. I've been there several times.
3 of the years that I was there, we were competitive. Went to the Elite Eight. I got
I've never been
big
to the Elite
ring,
Eight.
right?
Oh,
I got a big ring that I pull out
Yeah.
every now and then when I go back to visit, and I want to feel special.
I pull rings out too when I go back to campus. Like I haven't worn
Here
it in
I
10
am.
years, but I'm here, baby.
If I can squish it on my finger, it's happening.
Go
Even my
into the
pinky
ring finger now and throw the middle finger. Yep.
Yes.
Now my joints are getting old and swollen and goodness.
For
All
sure.
right, so we have a fun segment on the podcast that we do called Trivia in the Trenches. And
Okay.
so it's where I ask you a question and I hope you don't know the answer because it's funner for me when you don't know the answer. But sometimes people do. It's kind of like wah wah. But anyway, so we're gonna do Trivia in the Trenches and then we'll get back to asking you some more questions.
Okay.
All right. Here is our Trivia in the Trenches question for today.
Oh, okay.
You ready?
I'm
All
ready.
right. Any color plus gray is called what?
Grayish.
I thought the same thing when I looked
That's
this
just
up.
gray and beige,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it is. I know. I thought the same thing. Okay, so you don't know the answer, which
I
is
don't know the
better
answer.
because I didn't know it either. It's called a tone.
Stop.
Yeah,
Is
you
that
ready?
like Pantone? Like
Yeah,
I know
I don't know.
or however you pronounce that?
I think so because it says a tone is produced by mixing a color with gray or by tinting and shading. So if you mix a color with a neutral color, grayish, like actually it's black, white, or gray, it reduces the chroma and colorfulness while the hue remains unchanged. So all I can think of is like you take blue and you put gray in it, now it's like light blue.
Yeah.
And so it's called a tone.
A tone.
Which I think would be similar to Pantone because Pantone is like all the colors
It's
on the
all
range.
the
You got the number.
colors,
It's like the little
yeah.
hashtag sign and like 5 digits or something.
whatever that means.
Yeah,
All
I
the
don't know. I just
numbers.
copy and paste it from Canva and like send it to
Exactly.
people. They're like, I need your Pantone blue. And I'm like, yeah,
Whatever.
whatever.
It's like pixels.
Or I Google, what is Pantone?
What do we do without Google?
I don't know. I was thinking about that the other day because my son's doing swim. And I was thinking about how I find out about all these activities, right? I'm like, how did my parents, like, they didn't put me in crap when I was little.
Because they didn't know.
I begged for 2 years for cheer, before they finally signed me up at a little dance studio in town. And so, exactly. I'm like, how would they have known?
There was probably a piece of paper you were supposed to bring home
from
that
school.
somebody
Who
was going to put in
knew?
your
Yeah,
backpack
I
or
have
whatever.
no idea. Like, there's and now it's just like, it's local swim for a 5-year-old boy or like whatever it is. You can type it. So they say though that the Chat GPT, am I saying that right? Chat GPT is in my brain. I say it like this: Chat GPT. So I don't actually know the order of the letters. Chat GPT, and so it could be PTD. I don't know. Anyway, so is going to change. Like we won't need Google anymore or Amazon.
I don't know that I'm emotionally prepared for that.
I know. I feel like it's a whole shift, but I mean, I feel like maybe Encyclopedia Britannica was the same way. Like, right? We all were still looking at the books, and then
there's that.
Yeah.
We actually still have a set of those. We're moving, and I picked up the box.
Please tell me that is going to the
had 'em in there.
Civitans resale shop.
I have a grandson. He likes
Who's
to
gonna
look
look at
he
encyclopedias?
likes to look at pictures. They're the ones
Becca.
with the big colorful
Oh,
pictures in
no, I'm
them.
thinking like the old Bible pages
Oh,
style.
no,
Okay,
not that
yeah, the
one. These
color
are the ones with the
yeah,
colorful
those are cute.
pictures in them.
Those would
Yeah,
be
yeah,
cute. Those would be
no.
cute.
Other than the fact they're heavy, and I
Yeah.
remember that somebody used to go to door
Yeah.
selling those,
Well,
like,
because
that's a
here's the
ridiculous
problem is
situation.
what young people don't realize today is like, they're like, oh, wonder what kind of tree that is. Can't look that up because we haven't got the tea yet because mom bought them on a monthly installment and we only get one a month
We're
in the
not to
mail.
tea
And we've
yet.
only got to, we've only got to Q. So you can't look at the teas, and so they don't know that like there was no doing that. Or you have to talk your parents into driving you to the library to go look it up at
Right.
and go find the card catalog and pull it out and look at the little, yeah.
But if you say card catalog to a kid, so I told you my kids are in their 20s. You say card catalog to my daughter, she's gonna be like, it's a what?
A what? I know. Or
What do you
or
do with that?
encyclopedia. Just start there. Like they don't even know what that is.
No,
I had this
not even a
I
little
had
bit.
this really hard history teacher, and anyone that's from the Sling County area knows Coach Rushing.
Yep.
And so he was ridiculously hard. Like the projects he made us do were Common Core before Common had a core had a Common. Like it was ridiculous. And we had to go to a cemetery and we had to pick a headstone and we had to do this huge research report about this person, which required going to downtown Little Rock to the historical like archives and going through like the film, like the little film across the screen.
Microfiche.
Thank you. That
Yes.
and looking at the census records to figure out where they lived and who lived with them and all this stuff. And like I'm thinking back now and I'm like, oh my God, I was a public school teacher. I couldn't even get those kids to type in Google like who is John Smith? Like, are you serious? But he was another person who had high expectations.
Yes.
Yes. And one time he chased me around the classroom because and then I got kicked out. The only time I ever got kicked out of the class was his because me and Katrina Shivers, she was a girl I went to elementary school all the way through with, were passing notes. And I did, because I knew if he got the note, he was going to read it out front in the class. Like that was his rule. If you were passing notes, he was taking them straight to the front and he was reading them. And if you fell asleep, he was squirting you with a water gun while you were asleep.
That's legit.
And it was legit. And like I can picture this classroom like it was yesterday. And I was running around the classroom and he was chasing me. And so he sent me outside. And I don't know if he ever read the note. I don't remember that part.
That was commitment, though.
Yeah, I was committed to that
protect
note.
your note.
I was committed to the note. I don't even know what the note said.
That's the precursor to HIPAA right there. You get chased around your room.
Precursor to HIPAA. I love it. I love it. All right. So tell us a little bit about, you mentioned the impact of sports.
Yeah.
But what else connected you to the mission? What are you doing in like your daily life at work?
Oh my gosh. So, it was a huge transition for me, not only like shifting focus from primarily the disability world and going into the sports and extracurricular world, but also going from that showing up and sitting in an office all day long to having an office at my house.
Yeah.
It's like, whew. So that is a transition. So all of the people who did that during COVID and never went back or then had to go back, like I salute you because
you're like
the struggle is real.
You're almost 6 months in.
Yes, almost, which is crazy.
And now you're moving houses.
Yes. So I'm actually going to have an office.
More than just like a corner.
That's not a corner or sitting with one of those lap desks on my couch with my feet on the coffee table.
I spent half of the pandemic like that.
Yes.
Until I finally cleaned out the room that had a bunch of junk in it and like made it into an office. I feel like lots of
real office.
Yeah, I feel like lots of people did that. They had like a junk room and they were like, okay, finally, let's do something with this.
Well, if I'm going to have to work from home, I should have a pretty space to do it from.
Well, we started zooming and realizing everybody's looking at your, the pile of laundry behind you and you're like, oh, well, damn, maybe I should like clean up my life over here. So
why?
Yeah.
I mean, just throw the real you out there.
So
like it or lump it.
So you're actually like being a nonprofit and a startup nonprofit, like you are fundraising for your paycheck.
Absolutely.
Right? While also trying to be really good stewards of the funds of the donors, because to be honest, like you have to pay somebody to run an organization. So part of the money has to go to your payroll, but then the rest of the money is going directly out into our programs.
And I love that. Like one of the things that you and I have had a lot of conversations about, and our board and I have had a lot of conversations about, is the fact that I want us to be like above board, transparent with where our money's going. I love the fact that we don't have a brick and mortar building
because we don't have anything to pay for.
We don't have any overhead.
Besides,
like
we have a storage building now because we have an overstock of Oreos.
We have a million Oreos. If your organization needs Oreos, please reach out to me. I will be happy to meet the needs of your children who need Oreos. Because we are actively trying to get rid of that storage building. It's been a blessing, but it's an expense I don't want to continue to have.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, just being able to meet the needs in our community, like whatever that looks like, if, and knowing that we are being good stewards of your money. We're being 100% transparent. Like the only bill, like the big bill that we regularly pay is me.
It's payroll.
And I'm so glad for that because I do like to have my new house to live in.
Yeah.
At my new old house, our little project. But being able to put it out there to the world, like your money is going back into our community and
Yeah.
your money is helping these kids who need it so bad.
Tell the prom ticket story.
Oh,
This
that's
is like my favorite one. This was a one-off
Right.
for us. Like
It was the random.
normally we're raising funds for kids to help kids pay for sports and extracurricular activities.
Right.
And
If it's art lessons, music lessons, soccer, baseball, like
Right.
whatever it is, those are our normal run of the mill needs.
I have chills and you haven't
Like,
started the
it's
story.
So good. So from my previous job connections or my previous life connections, as I like to say it now, I had a lady reach out to me and say, it's not even in our like general service area. There
Yeah.
was a young man who's a senior at Central High School,
Which is like 20 minutes from here.
right.
So it's not super far.
a huge, but like
Right now we focus on
generally
Saline
focus
County
on Saline County
because we want to have the funds to meet the needs here and then grow bigger.
we definitely want to grow, but like you have to figure it out.
Yeah.
You're getting the kinks worked out so that we can have
Yeah.
a good model to send out there. But this lady reached out to me. It was not a lady that I knew, but I knew her. Like I know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy. And she reached out to me and said, we're desperate. Like we don't know what to do. This young man is very low functioning. He's a senior at Central High School and he wants to go to prom. And he had a friend who asked him to go to prom
For the
first
first
time
time.
ever.
Yeah.
Like, and he came home bouncing around the house. He was excited, like full life. And the family has no means at all.
Oh.
They didn't have any means to buy the tickets. They didn't have any means for clothing. And I said, I gotcha. Like, let me send a few emails. Like, we have this tuition assistance program. It's not generally what we do. Let me check with our committee. I can't commit to you until I check with them and get their approval. But it was $70 for him to get to go to prom.
And we paid all of it.
And we paid all of it.
Yeah.
And like, he was just ecstatic. Like, these are the life-changing opportunities that we're
Yes.
able to provide through the generous giving
Yes.
of our community.
Yes.
And for a nonprofit, so we had 11 our first year, which predates me, to Desiree, who's fantastic.
Yes.
And
She was our
like
first director.
left the most amazing things for me to take care of.
Yeah.
Like, between our transition and her start and my finish, we offered 11 partial tuition scholarships in the first year, the first active year of an organization. Like that's
so
a
cool.
huge
I
thing.
know.
That's like, I can't even remember what the number was. It was like $11,000 a month.
Not great.
No, that's not right. It was $11,000 for the year.
Yes. It's
We
about
paid
$1,000 a month.
out
Yeah.
a little over $1,000 a month in funds that were given to a brand new startup organization. Like that's unheard of.
Like we take people's money and send it right back out the door.
We do.
Yeah.
Right back out to kids in need.
Yes.
And like if you've never had the privilege or desire to participate in an extracurricular activity, or if you never had that struggle where you
Mhm.
wondered, like as a parent or as a kid experiencing that, like, is our family going to have the money for me to be able to do
Yeah.
this? Or am I going to be able to buy groceries and pay for my kids' swim lesson this week? Like that's it's hard to ask for help. And we wanted to make that process friendly and easy
Yeah.
and make ourselves accessible to
Right, yeah.
everybody because we want to take that stigma off asking for help. Everybody struggles.
And it's different seasons of life, you know?
Right.
I was talking to a mom yesterday about being a donor for Impact, and she's in school right now, and her mom is helping her. So the grandmother is actually helping her child, and she was looking forward to the season when she graduates from school and can become a donor for us
Right.
because she's not in that season right now, but she has a heart for the programs that we have and is excited about when she does graduate and get her next job.
The
that
opportunity to
she's
do
going
that.
to be able to. She's like, I'm there. I will be a donor as soon as I graduate, and that's
I love
exciting. Isn't that
that.
great? Like
I love
those are
that.
great conversations. So, tell us a little bit about like you've worked in nonprofit, you've worked in for-profit, right?
Yes. Yes.
You mentioned something a little bit earlier about, okay, wait, I have to call the committee first and ask them. What is that dynamic like? So for people who haven't worked in nonprofit, you can't always just say yes right away because your bosses are 12 board members.
Right.
Yeah.
And like it's hard for me. I'm a doer. Like I just want to go. And to a certain extent, I'm like, I don't want to think about it.
You just go.
Like this is a great opportunity. I'm creative
Yeah.
and I'm a thinker and a mover. And I'm like, oh, I think we could do 400 of these. Let's go.
Yes.
But it's also good for me because we have to have those parameters.
Yeah.
Like, as much as we want to help everybody and we hope and pray that we get to that point,
Yeah.
we're not there yet because we are just a little baby nonprofit out in the world. So I am surrounded by amazing people on our board who help me make these decisions. And when I go, let's blah, 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 they say, okay, well, let's think about it for a second.
Yeah.
Or like, let's make sure that we're being good stewards and make sure that we're
Yeah.
doing what's best.
Well, it's like yesterday you and I met, and you were like, hey, we have all of these applicants for tuition assistance. And I'm like, okay, we don't have the funding.
Right.
And so now before we say no, we're trying to get the funding.
Right.
And
we don't want to say
looking for
no.
donors who are willing to sponsor kids for a season.
Right.
Like, can you sponsor this child, in partnership with their family, because their families are also paying, and get them through this season. And so that part's really cool to me because I love the fact that I'm literally asking people, I need $207 a month because $207 a month is going to child number 4.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the Sally Struthers. Like, can you make a difference in this one kid? And we can tell you, like, these kids, these are traceable kids. These are traceable
you how many
numbers.
hours they spent in training. I can tell you the competitions they went to. I can tell you all those things. Or like for soccer kids, like we can, we had foster kids that came in that wanted to play soccer, and we were able to pay their soccer fees. And so that stuff is fantastic. All right, so let's learn a little bit more about you. We've talked a lot about the cause, about your career so far. So what is something that you think other people would disagree with you about? Something like you believe to be true?
Oh, gosh. Oh, that's a tough one. Like, I'm a super opinionated person. I know that's shocking.
Shocker.
Like, and I really am an open book. My big soapbox right now is the fakeness of life.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people like to live in that box where my life looks so good. Like, I've got it all together. I put my perfect makeup on and wear my perfect outfit, and I go to the gym 5 days a week. And here I am with my selfie on the treadmill and my tiny pants that I just got into. And I'm over here like eating my Oreos.
Tired. Trying to move houses.
With like trash in my hair and food spots on my shirt.
Trash in your hair.
Like, trying not to just like put my car and drive and go to the beach and put my feet in the sand and not come back.
But
it's real out here.
But I mean, and that is the whole reason we started the podcast. The whole reason I wanted to do this podcast was so we could talk to real people about real stories and share real struggles. Because in all reality, people that live in that, they're struggling with the devil of comparison.
Exactly.
And some people do have great lives, and that's awesome. And some people have shit lives, and sometimes it's their fault, and sometimes it's not.
And we've lived all of those.
Yeah, we've all been there
before, even just in our 11 years of marriage. Like, Speedy and I have lived all of those things. I've had a wonderful life, and I will always say that. Like, I am grateful for every opportunity that I've been given, for every person who has ever invested or believed in me. But my childhood for a long time was shit.
Yeah.
I came from a broken home, and I hate to use that broken home because I'm second wife to a first husband. That's what I am.
Yeah.
So I came into a bonus family, and that family may have been broken, but over time, we have worked to put those broken pieces back together into something new and different that's equally great. And we don't always get along, and we don't always like each other, but we're a blended family, and that's what happens. That's not the experience that I had as a child. My parents divorced when I was young. My biological mother was abusive, and that was a situation where, as an 11-year-old, I had to make the choice to cut ties because that's what was safe for me. And nobody should have to make that decision ever. And I still, to this day, the last time I spoke to her, I was signing my letter of intent to play college basketball, first person in my family to go to college. And she wrote a letter to the newspaper and said, "You left people out of her family." When they did the press release. Like, that's the last time we spoke.
So your mom that you brought to the tea party.
My mom, she's a special lady. She took me in. I always say my mom had a hysterectomy in 1981, and I was born in 1982. So work that out on your own.
No
Again,
doubt.
not a mather, so make that work. But
mather. I still think you came up with that word.
I'm pretty sure I made it up.
I think so too.
But she has been my mom my whole life. Like, we look alike, we talk alike.
I
We're
know,
the
that's why I'm
same
sitting
person.
here thinking, I didn't even know this about you.
But so I have no biological ties to my grandson, but we have the same eyes and the same smile. So, like, it's just God's little funny joke. I think he plays on us sometimes, like the people who love you and want to be in your life, even when
Yeah.
they don't have to. Like,
Yeah.
these things
Those
just
are
happen.
special
It
people.
happens. So she took me in and, during that whole transition was about the same time that sports became a real competitive thing for me.
Yeah.
And Carla saw that I was struggling, but she also saw that I was a hell of an
You
athlete.
have potential.
I may not be now. Like,
I
we'll see.
mean,
The
we
mind
need a
is
little
willing,
practice.
but the body might be a little
We
unable
might need a
now.
little
Right?
practice.
So, like, I have to work on my free
Yeah.
throws a little
We'll
bit. I
call
used to be
Carla and ask her to
really
do
good at those.
ask her to do a middle-aged league for
Oh
us.
my gosh. She did actually play.
I'll be your cheerleader. Yes.
I love
Go,
it. I love
Becca.
it.
B to the E double K A. Go.
I love how you just
Becca.
spit that right out.
I had more coming too, but I felt like the WILKERSON was going to get
Was
real
a lot. That was a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's more letters than Razorbacks, I'm sure.
Is it?
I don't know.
We'll add that up later.
We're gonna have to math that later.
Mather. I'll be the mather. Get my calculator out.
Right.
Oh my God. So, okay. So you're always busy, doing work stuff. You're passionate. You have Project Prom, which is another,
Yes.
project
Love
of yours
Project Prom.
that you love, and you're helping kids get dresses during prom season, which is huge. You have an immaculate collection. But can I ask you about fertility? Can I ask you about that?
You can.
I can. All right.
I told you. No,
I know
I'm
you told
an
me.
open
You told me
book.
I could. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a revelation I had,
Okay.
and I haven't even told you this. So we were talking, I don't know, a couple months ago, maybe a little longer, about your desire to have children one day,
Mhm.
and you shared with me that your husband, after his previous marriage, had a vasectomy.
Yes.
Okay, and so, but insurance and funding has been an obstacle there.
It's expensive.
And
like, God bless these ladies, like women like us who go through these fertility issues because
it's very expensive.
it's
and
hard.
So that was the first time in my life. It's like one of those things you're like, damn, how did I not know this? That I really realized how classist fertility is.
It is.
Because
Absolutely.
I was like, how sad is this that there are women and men, I know men too, but I'm saying women because, women are typically the ones that are like having to do the shots and do all the things. But like, you want to have children, but because of financial constraints and insurance won't cover an elective vasectomy reversal,
Right.
you guys can't do that until you have the financial means to do that.
Right.
And that is a huge problem in our entire country.
It is. It's huge. The way that the insurance is set up, and it's not just ours, like it's insurance across the board.
Yeah.
I can go and have, I think it's like a 20% co-insurance.
Yeah.
We did our annual re-up of insurance. So I
Yeah.
haven't looked at
The renewal or
new,
whatever it is. Yeah.
whatever that's called.
Yeah.
So I haven't looked at what the new pricing is, but generally it's a 20% co-insurance
Okay.
for anything for me
Uh-huh.
because I have not had what they call a voluntary sterilization.
Right.
Which, like, that sounds terrible. Like, I
Yes.
think we need to give some of these things friendlier words for those of us who live in this infertility hell. Like,
And it's 2023.
right? Like, it shouldn't sound like you've been banished to the Badlands when you can't do these like voluntary sterilization.
Yeah.
It sounds so terrible. Like, he had a vasectomy, he was married, and they didn't want to have any more
And
kids
now we're
with
in a
his
new
first
season
wife.
of life.
Like, he didn't know that they would be divorced, and he didn't know that he would be remarried to somebody and want to start that process over again. Again, our kids are 20 years old. Like, you can't.
Yeah.
My crystal ball's in the shop. Like, I don't know if yours is working today, but I haven't been able to
Crystal
quite
balls in the
figure
shop.
that out yet. So it will pay nothing for his because he had this voluntary sterilization.
Yeah.
And that's tough. Like, we got to a point where we thought we were going to be able to do that. Like, I had some complications and had to have some tests done just to make sure that I was healthy. And we breathed this huge sigh of relief. Like, there was a mass that they were afraid was going to be a polyp or cancer or, any
Yeah.
of these terrifying things. So I spent a week crying thinking now I've got ovarian cancer or I've got some kind of
Mhm.
mass that's growing, only to have all this testing done and for them to go, oh, it just disappeared on its own. Great.
Well, that was God.
Is it coming back?
Yeah.
Like, are we really done? And is
Yeah.
this something I need to worry about? And he said, oh, it's gone. It'll just be gone.
Yeah.
Fantastic. But then we get to that point and it's like, oh, but by the way, you can't have a vasectomy reversal because it's been 20 years since he had his
Yeah.
vasectomy.
Yeah.
So you have to do this retrieval process and you have to do IVF and it's this and that. And it's a 20% coinsurance for the IVF, but it's like $10,000 for the retrieval and the storage and the cryo storage and all of that. It's
Yeah.
like, holy smokes, we went from a 20% coinsurance, which is completely manageable, to over a $10,000 bill in one
Plus the
conversation.
20% coinsurance.
Right.
And so the thing it started making me think about is, and I feel like, you know how you don't know that you hold these beliefs until until you
Right.
realize. And it made me really start examining, like, basically you can have fertility, like, help if you have money.
Exactly.
And if you don't, you're screwed.
Exactly.
And that is so hard. Like, what? What? Because then
It's
if you think about it, and I don't
wild.
know these answers because I would have to do more research, but what about people that are on Medicare or Medicaid? Like, they're on government funded
Just
insurance?
can't do it.
Do they offer fertility? Like, I don't know.
I don't I don't think that they
I don't
do.
either, but I don't know that for sure. I couldn't be sure. I'd have to do some digging on that. But so anyway, it was way bigger and of an impact after you shared your story with me that made me start forward thinking about even pregnancy test. A pregnancy test is 15 bucks.
Oh, yeah. They're crazy.
And there is a hole in Arkansas, I know specifically in our state, where you have to have proof of pregnancy to be able to get on government funded insurance.
Yes.
You can't get proof of pregnancy if you don't have insurance and can't go to a doctor to get it.
Right?
So thankfully, we have a great nonprofit here, New Beginnings,
Yes.
that fills
They're
that gap.
wonderful.
But people that don't know that, they don't know how to get on the insurance without getting proof
No.
of pregnancy. And a pregnancy test is 15 bucks, and they may not even have a ride to these places.
And if I may be wrong, but I don't even think to show that proof of pregnancy, like you can't go to Walgreens and buy a
Oh,
pregnancy
no, it has
test.
to be from a doctor
It has
or
to
like a
be from a
facility.
doctor. So
Yeah.
if you don't have insurance and you can't afford an out-of-pocket doctor's appointment,
Which is, I'm no telling how much that is.
and like even if you had insurance, do you have a copay? Like, do you have
Yeah.
money to pay your copay?
Yeah.
So then we require all these moms to have this fantastic prenatal care. And I'm not downing that at all because I think it's necessary. But then we don't give them a pathway to it if they don't have the money. Like
Yeah. So
it's a broken system.
It is a broken system. And it's, and then on the flip side, like I have some friends that live in Canada. And so in Canada, like about 40% of your income goes straight to the government.
Wow,
But it's universal health care.
that's true.
And so it's like, okay, damn, 40%. But
That feels like a
okay.
lot.
But then when you start thinking about
That made me a little
healthcare
sweaty when you
and
said it.
access to healthcare and just being able, so
You can just go.
it's kind of like, and I know Canada has a very different government system than we
Right.
do, but culturally we're a lot more similar to Canada than we are like countries in Europe and things like that. But it's just, I don't know. You're the first person I knew that has, not the first person I've known that's had, fertility struggles, but who has had a fertility challenge, wants to change it, but there's a financial barrier there. And then what?
Right. Well, and the flip side
Because
of
you also want
that,
to have a house
right?
and
Like,
a car.
I want to
and
pay my everyday bills.
Yes.
And there's, as much as I hate to say it, because it's not something I like to admit to myself, like my doctor said, you're healthy. You could have babies. 'Cause I'm 41. You could have babies until you're 50 unless something crazy happens. But then you look at that and you're like, damn, do I want to have a newborn at 50?
Do you
Yes,
want to
the
have
answer is absolutely yes. If that's what what God's plan for me is and where I'm
Yeah.
supposed to be going, then absolutely yes. But my husband's 11 years older than me.
Yeah.
So does he want a newborn
So
at
you're up
61?
against a clock, too.
That clock, that biological clock is just tick, tick,
Which
ticking.
I don't care what anyone else says. You know it as a woman.
Oh my God, it's in there.
You
It's
know
in there.
it.
I hate it.
You do know it. You do know
We
it.
teach ourselves to ignore it because it's a self-preservation mechanism.
However, the older we get, biologically speaking,
Yes.
from the dawn of man, we were born with so many eggs and they start to
Right.
expire.
We're not chickens. Like when the eggs are expired, like a new one doesn't fall into the nest.
Yeah.
Like it's
gone.
It's
Yeah.
done.
I know. Yeah, that's interesting. So thank you for sharing about your fertility. I know that's something extremely
Yes.
personal, but it was something that made a huge impact on my life and the way I look at things, and just thinking about, I'm a change maker and always looking for ways and opportunities to be able to provide pathways for other people and what that
Yes.
could look like systematically I feel like one day if I ever retire, I'm going to be like a system basher or like a system
I
lobbyist.
love that.
Like somebody who just realizes that systems are broken and let's find a better way.
Well, and I like the fact that you told me, when you and Lisa started the Impact One Foundation, like, and I'm trying to remember how exactly it was that you said it to me, but it's like, if it's a problem for me, then it's a problem for
It
everybody.
is. Yes.
And that's true. People don't
Yes.
take that into consideration. Like,
Yes.
I'm not the only woman fighting this battle. But if
No.
I'm the first one that's willing to stand up and say, hey, it's me and it's a problem and we need to do something
Yes.
about it, then I'm here for it.
I'm always like, we can do better. That's
We
kind of how we started
can.
with Impact was we saw these grandparents, if a grandparent dies, if a spouse, or a parent loses their job, other deaths in the family, bankruptcy, things like that. That's when kids were getting ripped out of their activities.
Hmm.
And it wasn't because they didn't like it. It was because that calm they needed in the storm, and the storm was causing the calm to be lost.
Right.
And so we were like, we can do better. We don't know how, but we can do better. We'd never started a nonprofit. We'd never fundraised for anything that wasn't like a couple $100 here or there.
Right.
We're looking at, hundreds of thousands of dollars in fundraising a year. We're hiring a director. Like, we are going to do this. And we had no clue what we were doing, but we knew that our mission was bigger than our fear. And we
Right.
knew that we could make a difference. And I feel the same way about so many systems in our world. So there's my soapbox. If you told me yours, I'll give you mine. I'll give you mine.
Well,
Yep.
in my opinion, our tuition assistance program is the most important thing that we do. Like, we do fantastic things. Like, we have 4 main programs that I preach in our community, and to anybody who will listen, and that elevator pitch thing, if you get stuck with me in an elevator, you're going to hear
You're
about these 4 programs. But our tuition assistance is the most important, and it is all about ripping down that Facebook, Instagram life image, because all of those families that you mentioned, they need a hand. It's not a hand out, it's a hand up. Our tuition assistance is not 100% because I want to encourage that buy-in. If
Yeah.
I say I'm going to pay 100% of your swim lessons, you have no skin in the game. Like, there's no motivation for you to show up because you got this handout. But I'm offering you 75% and you still have to pay that 25%.
Yeah.
So it engages you. It makes you a part of the process. It's not just me rescuing you from a situation. I'm teaching you to fish. I'm not fishing for you.
Yeah.
I'm helping you get up and get back on your feet so that you can still continue to meet these goals and needs in your family and do the things that your kids need, or provide that calm in the storm that they need so bad.
Yeah. I like
So,
that.
like, it is definitely
teaching you to fish.
right. You don't need me to fish for you because I'm doing you a disservice
Yeah.
if I come and do it. And that's hard for me because I'm one of those, like, I'm telling you, having a 4-year-old grandson teaches me so many things. Like, he wants to put his shoes on. They're the Velcro shoes and they light up, so
Yes.
they're awesome.
Oh,
And
with
he
the
keeps putting them on the wrong feet. And I'm like, either you've put your shoes on the wrong feet or your feet are on the wrong side. Like, we're gonna have to figure out what is
Or
happening
your feet
here.
are on the wrong side. That's
Your
cute.
feet may be on the wrong side. So my gut instinct is to snatch his shoes off and put them on the right feet. And he's like, oh, baby, no, I want to do it.
Teach him to fish.
I've got to teach you to fish. I'm like, okay, so I need you to take that one off and move it over. And it's a problem solving. It's teaching him those problem solving skills instead of teaching him to be reliant on me.
Yeah.
Because being reliant on me is not going to serve him at all. And my parents were amazing about that. When I can remember being, in 6th or 7th grade and playing summer softball league. And they'd say, well, we need sponsors for blah, blah, blah. Or if you need travel money. So my mom worked for a cardiology clinic and it was full of doctors. Like, cardiologists are kind of intimidating. Like,
Yeah.
not now because that's the world I grew up in.
Yeah.
And so my parents would say, we're not going to go ask Dr. Murphy for your sponsorship. Like, if you want Dr. Murphy to sponsor you, you're going to have to go sit down in his
he's
office.
gonna be way less likely to tell you no.
Right? Because you're
Yeah,
so stinking cute.
Yes.
Like, you're going to go sit in his office and you're going to tell him that you want to play
Yes.
softball and you're going to make that pitch. And it used to terrify me and make me so mad. It's like, you are friends with him. You could just call him on the phone and be like, hey, can we have $50
Yeah.
for Becca's softball team?
Yeah.
But in that process, they taught me to be a problem solver and to not be intimidated and to not be afraid. If I had a nickel for every time my mom said, you pull your big girl panties up and you throw your shoulders back and you go in there and you do the thing, whatever it is. Like, I still call her to this day and I'm like, Mom, I'm going X, Y, and Z. And I'm super intimidated. And she goes, I cannot believe you. you have to pull your boots on, pick yourself up by your bootstraps and throw your shoulders back and walk your ass in there and get it done. Like word for word.
Get it, girl.
I keep telling her, like, I'm going to put that on your headstone when you die. There's nothing you can do about it.
She's probably going to be fine with that.
Right?
She is.
Put on your big girl panties and throw your shoulders back and go.
No doubt.
But it served me.
It is.
And if I can pass that along to kids that are mine and to kids that are not mine.
Yeah.
And sport reinforced that.
Yeah.
Because you have to be like, if you ask people who knew me in high school as a person, or even in college as a person and as an athlete, that was two different personas. I was very studious and I did the things and I was personable, but when I stepped on the court, like, it was all business and I was mean. Like, it was a mentality, like, you go in there and you're a bruiser and you get stuff done. But that's how I was successful.
Yeah.
But it was that like almost cocky confidence that I had on the field or on the court.
Yeah.
Paired with that, like, get in there and dig in and figure it out when I was off the court. And putting those two things together, I think, has helped make me into a successful human.
Yeah.
Not, business notwithstanding. And I'm not a person who will say, well, I'm awesome at all the things, because I'm obviously not.
None of us are.
Like, I've missed the mark at least 100 times today, and it's like 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
So
and you checked your watch.
Here we are. It's 11 o'clock, and I know all the things that I have not, like, I've just not gotten there
So
today.
those words have stuck with you for years.
Yes.
Yeah. So what do you do for fun? Do you do anything for fun?
Fun. I do. I lay on the couch in silence and stare at the ceiling in the quiet by myself.
We call that we call that meditating around here.
Right?
Yeah.
And when my eyes open from that nap, I'm feeling so refreshed.
Or napping.
No, I love to read.
Yeah.
I'm a lifelong learner. Like, my kids and my husband, like, they make fun of me all the time because I am the keeper of all the random facts. So I'm so sad that I didn't know the answer to the question about tones.
I love it.
Like, man, I'm going to know this.
I love it.
So my grandmother was this way. She was my favorite person. And whenever there was a random thing, like, I bet Grandma will know.
Yeah.
And if she made up the answer.
Before Google.
I mean, she was in her 90s when she passed 7-8 years ago. And, like, she just knew it. To be like, hey, do you know whatever this is? And she'd tell me. Now, if she was totally blowing smoke.
You have no idea.
I had no idea, but I believed it. And I've passed on that knowledge as it was truth.
So hopefully it was.
Well, Graham said, to this day. So I have kind of become that person in our
full
family.
Of knowledge. So what are you reading right now?
Right now, I'm big, like, I cycle through audiobooks.
Yeah, me too.
Like, I go hard on them, and then I'm like, maybe I need a break.
Like fiction or nonfiction, or
I'm big. I like fiction books. Like, it's a break from reality. So I've got a crime novel that I'm reading because I love the library and I love the smell of the books. Like, I love to go in there.
So you're physically checking books out.
Yes, I'm physically checking books out from the library.
Too, right?
Yes, he loves it so much. Like, we went day before yesterday, and he knows, like, he goes in and he gets his 4 books and he gets his 1 audiobook because he likes to check them out on CDs until CD players.
Do you have a CD player?
So we have a DVD player in my truck, and it will play them.
Okay.
And when it skips, he gets so mad.
And you're like, honey, listen, that was my life growing up. DVD, like our CDs, and then they would get them scratched through them because we'd left them in our purse or something, or my backpack. That was totally it.
Absolutely.
So, do you have a nickname?
Oh gosh, I've had so many nicknames. So since you were a Bryant High School grad, I'm sure you had Janet Johnson.
I did.
I love her.
She's also a legend. She was a cheerleading coach before my time.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, she wasn't mine. She was retired from cheerleading coaching at that time, but she was a cheerleading coach prior. Like, I think I was in junior high, maybe.
So I was 00 my whole career.
Yeah.
Like, before it was a thing to be 0, it was so weird. Like, when I would get a foul.
It's a thing to be 0?
It is now.
Oh, okay.
But I would foul somebody and they'd be like, how do you even hold that number up to tell them that
you just make 2 little O's, like
they
a little, like
they would make these fist things and throw them back and forth. And I was like, well, you should just call the foul on somebody else.
Foul. I don't even know what you do with foul.
Obviously I didn't do it anyway because in my entire career, I never actually fouled anyone.
Really? So obviously they were wrong.
Every single
You
time.
got fouls called on you, but you didn't actually foul anyone.
I have never fouled anyone in my entire career, even if it was on purpose. Did not do it.
Was not you.
Was not me.
She's no denial
still maintaining innocence at this point. But she called me My first, no,
Wait, I think you're proven guilty when they call the foul. So I don't think that you can technically
it's
claim
wrong.
innocence.
They were just
But
wrong.
whatever. If that
They
makes
were
you
just
sleep
wrong.
better at night, that's okay.
I need this win. So they were wrong, and I was always right.
Okay. So your nickname?
My nickname, she called me Not Not, which I
feel like that's two
loved.
boobs. I don't know why I think that. Not. So Not was your. So Crowder called you Not.
No, it was Janet.
Oh, Janet called you
Johnson.
Not.
She started calling me Not, and it stuck for a while, like through my high school stuff. But being Bekka, it was a general, like an easy transition into being Bekka Boo. So my parents call me Boo.
So Bekka Not Boo.
Bekka Not Boo. And when I have two stepbrothers, who like we don't use the step and but like I have two brothers. And when I was playing ball, they would come and watch me play ball too.
Yeah.
And somehow between them and my dad, it became Udi
Udi.
because they called me Bekka Boo.
Is that a OODIE?
Like
or
it was Bekka and then Bekka Boo and then Bekka Booty and then it became
Udi.
So one of my brothers would stand in the stands and be like, "Go Udi!" And people would be like, "What's an Udi?"
Not Udi.
Not Udi.
Yeah.
But Janet would yell. She would scream, "Not." So I really have had a
lot of nicknames.
A myriad
I
of
have
names.
no good stories like that. Like my uncle when I was little called me Miss Piggy. But that's like
why?
I don't because I like Miss Piggy from the Muppet Babies. I don't know, maybe.
Just because.
And then I feel like somebody called me Tweety Bird because I like Tweety Bird. And then that's it. My dad used to call me Brooke Black in a sack. And he literally put me in like brown paper bags. He would cut the hole and cut the armholes and they would put them on me. And I'd walk around. I have pictures of being little, like walking around the house. I was Brooke Black in the sack. So that's all I got. That's all I got.
My husband calls me Babe because
Babe.
Here's or he calls me Sweetheart. Like, and sometimes I can tell like
Babe versus Sweetheart.
Like, or like, okay, Sweetheart.
And
like
so really he's wanting to be like,
stab me.
Okay.
Yes. But I think that evolved because the thing that makes me want to go postal is when somebody hollers, hey. Like, I have a name.
So now he says babe.
So instead of hey, I get babe or hey babe. Because if you put babe behind hey, it makes it okay.
You're good now.
All of a sudden.
You know, there's something about being in marriage. You just learn your like partner's quirks. Yeah. And some of them, even if you think they're stupid, you succumb to them because you just don't want to deal with you being like, I'm not hey. I have a name for 11 years, you know?
I knew that we had reached a new level when Oliver and Speedy and I were in our house. And our rent house that we've lived in is tiny. And so like, there's no, like, if you get in an argument, there's no separate corners to go to. Like you just have to look at each other. And so we were like, it was not a fight, but it was heated words. And I turned around to walk out of the room and Speedy said, hey. And Oliver said, her name is not a hey.
Oh yeah. Got the grandbaby in on it now.
He's 4. Her name is not hey, Pops. Like, oh my God.
I love that.
Now I've done it.
That is so cute. That is the cutest thing ever. So, all right. Is there anything else you want me to ask you about?
Anything's okay.
Anything you want to ask me about?
Oh gosh. I didn't know this was going to go both ways. I would have prepared better.
Yeah.
No, I don't think there is. Like, I love the fact that we really are like, there's no, even in our general everyday conversation, like there's no real topics that are off the table.
Nope.
So we just pretty much fling it out there as it goes, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Sex toys.
Right?
Yeah.
But again, back to the soapbox, the world needs more.
Yeah, you need more real. I feel like you build the most authentic relationships when you talk about all different things, though.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
And life is too short to surround yourself with fake people.
Yeah.
And put yourselves in situations that drain you and only take from you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm putting good out into the world and good comes back to me.
I love it. All right. So I have one question I ask all of my guests at the very end. And so this is it. What's one thing you've always wanted to do but haven't yet?
Oh, that's a good one. I have always wanted to go to Greece.
Oh,
and I know you've been.
Yes, I have, and I couldn't recommend it more. It's the best.
I've always wanted to go to Italy and Greece.
Every dollar.
Yes.
Every dollar it's worth.
We're going to go one of these days.
The islands are super easy to get to from each other. There's a ferry, like exactly like you would imagine, a whole bunch of people standing out on like the edge of the water and like a not Americanized marina. And this huge boat pulls up and you wheel your luggage on and throw it in like a big pile of luggage and sit down and ride a boat to the next island. It's like not fancy.
That's fantastic.
It's not, I mean, it was just very low key. So we went from Santorini to Milos that way, and it's not expensive. That part of it's not. So it's the airfare, the airfare is the part that's expensive, but the weather is amazing. It was great.
Oh, like I just want to live in that culture, like the food and the people, like at least the way, like, obviously I haven't been there, but the way that I see it in my head, like
you're right.
I feel like those could be my people.
You were so
like,
right.
All of those people, we could just
it was
be
great
together.
We had a great experience. Greece was amazing. Yeah. So yeah.
One of these days.
You've been a great guest.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on the podcast today. Yeah.
Me.
And we'll drop the details of the Impact website and all that in the show notes.
Yes.
And then where can people follow you if they want to know more about you?
You can follow me. I'm on, I don't do Twitter because like it requires a lot of time and effort. And I feel like I don't have that time and effort. Not that I don't love Twitter because it's great, but I have an Instagram and I have a Facebook and I have a LinkedIn, and it's all Bekka Wilkerson there. And please go follow the Impact One Foundation. We are on Instagram and Facebook, or check out our website at impact1.org because we do some really amazing things for our community.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Until next time.
You've been listening to the Grit Crusade podcast with Brooke Plack. Our theme song is Thunder City by Lunar Ray, licensed through Soundstripe. This podcast was produced by Luminate Media Group. Thank you for listening, and we will see you on the next episode.